Hollywood survives on chaos, but every so often, a scandal smashes so loudly it makes the whole industry quake. And no, this shocker didn't crawl out of gossip blogs or some tacky celebrity beef it detonated inside a courtroom. The trial of comedian Katt Williams finally wrapped, and the verdict. Anything but normal. What should have been just another high-profile Hollywood case flipped the script, splitting fans apart and sending tremors far beyond Los Angeles. The scene was surreal. Reporters camped outside for days, hyping every latte run like it was headline news. Viewers everywhere clung to their screens as if Marvel was dropping a brand new Avengers movie. Expectations were basic: a neat little verdict, polite applause, and the drama fading quietly away. But anyone who's followed Katt Williams knows one-fact routine is the last word you'd ever use for him. Williams thrives on chaos. He's the comic who flipped meltdowns into viral memes, scorched executives to their faces, and turned Hollywood's awkward silences into unforgettable performances. He's just as infamous for unpredictable stunts, from storming out of interviews to turning a casual Target run into a full-blown spectacle. His life has spun like a carousel of arrests, lawsuits, and scandals, cementing his title as Hollywood's ultimate loose cannon. Simply put, Katt Williams never plays it safe, and this trial was no exception. Inside the courtroom, the tension was suffocating. On one side, his die-hard fans rocked his merch, chanting "Free Katt," like it was a protest dressed up as a concert. On the other side sat the grieving family of comedian Reggie Carroll, whose death was the core of this case, their faces etched with rage and heartbreak. Supporters wept beside them, demanding justice for a voice silenced far too soon. The atmosphere was razor-sharp, and when the judge finally entered, the silence dropped heavier than a gavel. This case wasn't born in a day. It was the messy product of years' arrests, mugshots, spiraling rumors, and shady whispers about Williams' secret dealings. His company, Onyx Owl LLC, became a magnet for suspicion. Vanishing associates, suspicious finances, and walls hiding more than they revealed. The darkest rumor of all tied directly to Carroll claims he was about to spill explosive secrets before his untimely death. What started as a case against one man's actions had blown up into a war about power, influence, and the hunt for truth. And the prosecution came locked and loaded, their so-called smoking gun. A grainy Instagram live clip that prosecutors swore tied Katt Williams to Reggie Carroll's death. The shaky, eerie footage looped endlessly on courtroom screens, each replay turning the room tighter with tension. Gasps filled the air as Carroll's terrified face froze on the frame. Prosecutors drilled it, and this was their undeniable proof. Their story was blunt. Katt Williams pulled the trigger. Carroll paid the price. But Williams' defense wasn't about to let that narrative fly. Their rebuttal was pure dynamite. They branded the video a complete fabrication, a deep fake cooked up by Hollywood elites desperate to erase Williams from the industry. They highlighted every flaw: mismatched lighting, glitchy audio, shadows that made no sense. One defense attorney even mocked the FBI, asking how an agency famous for losing fugitives suddenly found perfect footage at the perfect time. The jab got laughs from the gallery and even a raised eyebrow from the judge. Meanwhile, outside the courthouse, the internet had already gone to war. Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube lit up like a cultural battlefield. Hashtags like #VerdictDay, #Katt on trial, and #Justice for Reggie dominated timelines. TikTok creators parodied testimony with wigs and props, turning tragedy into twisted theater. Others froze the video frame by frame, circling shadows like amateur detectives and fans. They split violently, half screaming guilty, half yelling "set up," and those who swore Katt Williams was being set up. One viral tweet screamed, "This isn't justice. It's a Hollywood script and Katt's the fall guy." Another clapped back, "You see the gun? You see Reggie? Stop making excuses. He's guilty." As the trial snowballed, celebrities jumped in, pouring gasoline on the fire. A rival comic declared, "If Katt goes down, comedy loses its wildest soldier." A rapper barked, "They've been trying to silence him for years. Don't buy the hype." Meanwhile, the Alistairs, who once shared stages with Williams, stayed silent. And that silence screamed louder than any tweet. Then the prosecutors dropped their bombshell: photos of a weapon allegedly found in Williams' home, plus a charred notebook stuffed with cryptic names, actors, executives, politicians. When the jury saw those images, the courtroom detonated. Reggie Carroll's family collapsed in tears. Williams fans roared "setup." And one juror even fainted from the weight of it all. This wasn't a trial about a comedian anymore. It was a war between one man and the system itself. Was Katt Williams really a reckless loose cannon caught red-handed, or a truth-teller crushed by powers too big to name? The battle lines were carved, the air heavy with suspicion, and then the gavel came crashing down. When the judge finally spoke the verdict, the courtroom fell into a chilling silence. Papers rustled, the gavel echoed, and then came the words no one supporters or critics ever saw coming. Guilty on multiple counts. In a flash, that silence shattered into chaos. Reggie Carroll's family broke down, clinging to each other as if years of grief had finally been justified. Across the aisle, Katt Williams' loyal fans exploded in rage, screaming "setup," as security swarmed to contain the frenzy. For some, it felt like doomsday. For others, long-delayed justice. But the ruling carried a sting far deadlier than anyone expected. Williams wasn't just guilty of charges tied to Carroll's death, he was also nailed for racketeering, financial fraud, and running organized crime through his company, Onyx Owl LLC. Suddenly, this wasn't about one tragic night, it was about tearing down an empire brick by brick. Gasps filled the chamber as prosecutors painted a picture of sprawling corruption hidden beneath a comedy empire's mask. What began as a tragedy between two men had mutated into a full-blown takedown of a system. And then came the moment that set Fine turned that ablaze. After the verdict, Katt Williams leaned into the mic, eyes glassy but defiant, and whispered two words that stamped themselves into history: "Goodbye forever." Those words roared far beyond the courtroom. Within minutes, TikTok drowned in slow-motion edits of his face, layered with dramatic music and captions like "when the truth costs everything." Twitter lit up with hashtags like #GoodbyeForever and #CattVerdict, while YouTubers plastered his final words across thumbnails and panel debates. To some, it was the collapse of a man's career. To others, it was a chilling prophecy proof. He knew the game was bigger than him. But just as the frenzy threatened to settle, prosecutors dropped one last grenade: an unreleased clip from the night of Reggie Carroll's death. Unlike the polished Instagram footage, this one was darker, grainier, and revealed a third shadowy figure lurking in the frame. The courtroom erupted. Who was it? A bystander, a bodyguard, or something far more sinister? Williams' defense pounced, calling it proof he wasn't alone and couldn't be the sole killer. Prosecutors dismissed it, but the damage was irreversible. That mysterious figure ignited the firestorm all over again. Outside, pandemonium exploded. Protesters clashed violently, half chanting "Justice for Reggie," while the rest screamed "Free Katt." Riot police lined up in armor as helicopters thundered above. Reporters swarmed the chaos, shoving mics in every direction, desperate to grab the most sensational sound bites. The courthouse steps no longer looked like a place of justice. They looked like the opening credits of a dystopian blockbuster. Online, the chaos was just as loud. Twitter nearly buckled under the flood of posts, while Instagram and TikTok turned into digital war zones. Some users cheered that justice was served. Others swore Katt Williams was sacrificed to shield Hollywood's bigger predators. Then came the cryptic celebrity posts. One actress tweeted, "If you knew what I knew, you'd know Katt wasn't. The only one? A famous director dropped a black square captioned, "The industry cleans its own mess." And a rapper went live yelling, "They framed my brother. Don't believe the lies," before his stream cut off mid-sentence, sparking rumors his account had been shut down. That's when the whispers turned darker. Anonymous leaks claimed FBI insiders had seized encrypted hard drives from Williams' home, folders stamped with chilling labels like Red Room and contracts. Rumors swirled that Reggie Carroll had been preparing to testify about those files before his death. And if that was true, then his murder wasn't about personal beef. It was about shutting him up before he could spill secrets far uglier than any punchline. Online, fans split into two sworn camps. One side shouted that Katt Williams was guilty beyond doubt, pointing to the footage and the so-called murder weapon. The other side swore it was all Thea's staged production, built to bury truths too dangerous to surface. Viral threads accused prosecutors of burying evidence, especially the mysterious flash drives supposedly found in Williams' home that somehow never made it into court. Skeptics argued that was the real key, and whatever it contained was too explosive to ever see daylight. Meanwhile, Williams leaned into the role of martyr. During prison transport, witnesses swore he faintly smiled, waved at cameras, and mouthed, "The truth will outlive me." That single clip exploded online, pulling millions of views and turning into a rallying cry. Supporters clung to it as proof he wasn't just a defendant, he was a soldier in a war against corruption. The fallout hit fast. Sponsors dropped him overnight. Comedy clubs canceled bookings. A blockbuster film shelved him. Studios hiding behind legal uncertainty. Hollywood, once cashing in on his chaos, now treated him like toxic waste. And yet, every attempt to erase him only made his legend louder. Murals popped up across major cities, splashed with slogans like "Silenced," "Not Guilty," and "The Truth Will Outlive Me." Then came the whistleblower email, allegedly from inside the FBI, detonating a fresh wave of outrage. The claim? Simple. The verdict was rigged. Evidence was buried. And if the Red Room files ever leaked, it would torch reputations and topple careers overnight. The journalists who dared to publish the claims saw their site crash within hours, fueling suspicions that the cover-up machine was in overdrive. By then, this wasn't about Katt Williams anymore. It had morphed into a referendum on Hollywood itself. A battle between the polished script the public was fed and the sinister reality many believed lurked beneath. The verdict meant to close the book. Instead, ripped open a festering wound that exposed something far darker. The question now haunted everyone. Was this really just as our Hollywood's most convincing performance yet? The ink on the verdict was barely dry before chaos exploded beyond the courtroom. What began as a trial mutated into a cultural earthquake, rattling Hollywood, law enforcement, and the public to their core. Within hours, the courthouse steps looked like a war zone. Protesters swarmed, half chanting "Justice for Reggie," while the other half screamed "Free Katt." Police in riot gear stood locked in formation, helicopters circling above, broadcasting scenes that hijacked the evening news. But the madness didn't end at the courthouse. Less than 24 hours after Williams was locked up, a shaky video surfaced online, allegedly shot inside the prison. The grainy footage showed shadows. Near his cell, guards rushing in, and then a chilling silence before the feed cut out. Conspiracy theories erupted instantly. Was Williams already being marked for elimination? Was the state shielding him? Speculations spun out of control. Some swore Hollywood elites wanted him gone before he could spill the truth about the infamous Red Room files. Others whispered that politicians were pulling strings to guarantee Katt Williams would never walk out of prison alive. That rumor only sharpened the sting of his haunting words, "Goodbye forever." Suddenly, it sounded less like defeat and more like a grim warning that he knew exactly what was coming. Social media lit up with eerie interpretations. TikTok. Edits paired his last words with ominous music, framing them as prophecy. Twitter threads dug up old interviews where Williams had warned, "If you tell the truth in this business, they'll bury you," tying it directly to his downfall. His voice, once dismissed as wild rebellion, now rang like scripture. Meanwhile, Hollywood itself started to splinter. Stars who had stayed quiet during the trial cracked under pressure. Some posted cryptic messages only to delete them within hours. One actor tweeted, "If you think this ends with Katt, you haven't been paying attention." An insider whispered off the record that several premieres were abruptly canceled for security concerns. A famous director wiped every photo, with Williams from his socials overnight, fueling whispers that the industry was scrambling to protect itself before more bombs dropped. And bombs did drop. A hacker collective claimed they accessed pieces of Williams' so-called burn notebook, the same evidence prosecutors flaunted in court. Screenshots allegedly revealed lists of actors, executives, and politicians beside chilling phrases like "contract sealed," "oath signed," and "red room entry." The images went viral only to vanish in real time as accounts were suspended and servers wiped clean. The speed of the takedown only deepened suspicion. Who had the power to erase entire platforms within minutes? The public's reaction grew. Marie Volatile, with every passing hour. Protests spread from Los Angeles to Atlanta, New York, and beyond. Murals of Katt Williams appeared overnight, his face painted with the words "silenced but not gone." Fans splashed his image across city walls, treating him not as a fallen comic, but as a martyr man who gave everything to reveal the truth. Supporters insisted that every attempt to erase him only made his voice thunder louder. Hashtags like #FreeKatt, #GoodbyeForever, and #Truth will outlive me flooded timelines. Morphing into rallying cries for a movement bigger than one man was now about an entire system on trial. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Reggie Carroll's own brother appeared live on TV, tears streaming, revealing that just days before his death, Reggie confessed he was being followed. It's chilling words. "If anything happens to me, it won't be Katt at all. Be them." That one statement flipped the narrative upside down. The victim's own family member had just hinted the real masterminds orchestrated both Reggie's death and Williams' destruction. Inside prison, the reports about Williams grew darker. Guards whispered to journalists that he had stopped eating, terrified of being poisoned. Fellow inmates claimed they saw him scribbling letters late at night, desperate to smuggle out information. One even swore Williams told him off him scribbling letters long into the night, desperate to smuggle out the truth. One inmate with a contraband phone even posted, "Katt told me they can cage me, but they can't cage what I know." That single line detonated online, spliced into fan edits and memes, locking him in as a symbolic warrior against corruption. Meanwhile, whispers of the infamous Red Room files refused to fade. A second supposed FBI whistleblower swore those files contained recordings of secret Hollywood gatherings where unspeakable acts were filmed and archived. According to the leak, Reggie Carroll was preparing to blow the lid off those files, while Williams refused to hand them over, making him the perfect fall guy. If true, the trial wasn't about justice at all. It was about burying evidence too toxic to see daylight. The haunting question shifted. Not, is Katt Williams guilty? But what truths was he silenced for? Every leak, every rumor, every cryptic celebrity post deepened the belief that his conviction was a smokescreen. Fans argued that "Goodbye Forever" wasn't surrendered, was code. A vow that the truth would surface even if he didn't survive. And that's what made the story even more chilling. Anonymous prison whispers claimed Williams wouldn't live out the year. One inmate told a reporter, "The orders are already out. It's not supposed to leave alive." If that's true, the trial was never about prison, it was about erasure. The irony. Every attempt to silence him only made his voice thunder louder. Every mural, every hashtag, every viral clip-off, his final words has elevated him from controversial comic to full-blown movement. For millions, Katt Williams is no longer just a defendant, he's defiance itself. The loudest truth-teller daring to challenge Hollywood's machinery. And now the world stands dangling at the cliff's edge, torn between two realities. Was this trial truly justice served, or Hollywood's most elaborate cover-up yet? Was Reggie Carroll really the victim of Williams' actions? Or was Williams the scapegoat to bury secrets locked away in encrypted drives and coded notebooks? The gavel may have fallen, but the story is nowhere near finished. With every leak, rumor, and whispered warning, the line between truth and conspiracy dissolves further. And the most haunting question lingers. Will Katt Williams live long enough to tell the truth?